Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Here we are, and busy we are on a Wednesday morning. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Terrific hour on the way on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Gruden and Herbie back-to-back. Plenty of football to talk about. Football, pro, and then college.
Yes, college. And Herbie, I got a bone to pick with.
Yeah, you're going to get at it with Herbie finally. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the World Series last night. Clayton Kershaw, sensational. Dallas Keuchel made 2 big mistakes, and the Dodgers made him pay. And the Dodgers take a 3-1 win and a 1-0 series lead in 2 hours and 28 minutes.
2 mistakes by Keuchel, 2 home runs, 1 mistake by Kershaw. You had good pitching going on. Rich Hill tonight against Verlander. We just had Eduardo Perez in here who thought Hill would go maybe 4 to 5 innings, if that was the expectation, or he thinks it would be. Then get to the bullpen. Bullpen had two guys throw last night, 6 up, 6 down. And how about this? The Dodgers bullpen in the last 7 games, 23 innings, no runs allowed, 27 strikeouts, and 1 walk. They've been ridiculous. Yep. So if you use them a little bit more tonight, then you got the travel day, the day off, to get them refreshed a little bit, and onward you go. So we'll see. If
you take a 2-0 lead with you on the road as well, obviously you feel ridiculously good about yourself if you've gotten through Keuchel and Verlander, and Verlander, who has been one of the great midseason trade acquisitions ever. I mean, that conversation can begin a little bit here, too, about the great pickups that we've ever seen at the trade deadline. They don't beat the Yankees without him. There's no way in the world they get through that series without Verlander being every bit as good as he was. And now they're going to – it certainly feels like they're going to need him again if they're going to have a chance to win the World Series. And then the other thing, just quickly, for those of you watching on ESPN2, you saw it. They're running all of these Mike and Mike memories, flashback moments. Throwbacks, and they just showed the one where one of our bracket wagers, you had to have your legs and arms waxed.
Yes, I did.
And it was really fun. And it's fun to watch these. Well, it was fun watching it.
Okay.
8 years later.
Yeah.
But among the many things that strike me, we've been doing this so long, is just how different we look. I mean, looking at myself in that thing, I wonder any number of things. One is, what was I thinking with my hair? 2, what the heck was I wearing?
Yeah.
And 3, I mean, watching you lying there as fat as you were getting your legs waxed was just hilarious.
I think the 2 things we've learned over the years is, A, that I was very fluffy and have lost a lot of weight. And you, no matter when we show a picture, whether it's 2000 when this started or now, your hair is the exact same color.
It's the same color.
And you color. So when did you start coloring your hair?
God is my witness.
Yeah.
I have not colored my hair once.
Whatever.
Not once.
Whatever.
That is my original hair color. They're showing it on TV right now.
The styles have changed.
Send me this picture. Send me this with the split screen. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I look like 2 different people.
The hairstyles have changed. The color has not.
Has not changed.
Things that make you go,
as God is my witness.
Whatever.
I have not changed a thing. All right, let's get Gruden in here. So every week Jon Gruden joins us to talk football, and every week we started out with a song, and we did vary away a little bit from your AC/DC Van Halen sweet spot, but I feel very comfortable.
Oh, absolutely
very comfortable with this one. Jon Gruden, how do we feel about the Smoke on the Water?
Deep Purple.
That reminds me of Tyreek Hill on a wet night, man. Smoke on the Water. Love it.
I had this and an 8-track.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, and I loved it. Oh, man.
All right, that's you want to talk about dating ourselves?
You're not kidding. Every young kid's going, what's an 8-track?
And Jon Gruden is right now watching a lot of tape of Tyreek Hill because we have Broncos and Chiefs coming up this coming Monday in a really interesting AFC West matchup. We'll get to that in a moment. But, John, I want to start with the game you guys had this past weekend, the NFC East matchup between Carson Wentz and your brother's team in Washington, and Wentz was just spectacular. So I'm really – we spent basically 4 hours yesterday talking about Carson Wentz. Let's get it from you here, as now you've had a chance to sort of digest what you saw and everything you've seen from him in his second year. What are we seeing right now in the Eagles' young quarterback?
Well, you're seeing it all. And, when you watch him practice, when you're around him, perhaps the greatness is some of the things you don't see is his presence. He has a presence in the building. He has a presence on the practice field, and he's got a sincere approach with his teammates. He has a real care about everybody on the team getting better. There's a lot of sincere enthusiasm cheerleading, rallying going on from him behind the scenes. He's hard-nosed. He brings it, Mike, every week, every day, every down, and he's been well coached. They've upgraded the supporting cast. I think you really got to go back and take a look at Howie Roseman, the general manager. I don't think it's been brought up. I don't think we did probably a good enough job giving Howie Roseman credit for getting Carson Wentz. Remember, Philadelphia had the 13th pick in the draft. They traded up to number 8 with Miami, and then they traded up to get this man. I don't know how they did it. And I know the Washington Redskins, the Cowboys, and the New York Giants are probably upset with Cleveland for letting Philly go up and get this guy.
Yeah, I would say so. I think
so are the fans in Cleveland, but that's neither here nor there.
Cleveland every day. So we deal with injuries all the time, John, and certainly the marquee one this year of many injuries had been Aaron Rodgers, but we saw Joe Thomas go down in that streak stop we just saw. And then in your game, not only Brandon Sheriff, the right guard for Washington, who's a Pro Bowler, an excellent young guy, but an older guy, and Jason Peters go down, the left tackle for the Eagles. We saw that team without Lane Johnson last year at right tackle for suspension, and that line started to struggle. What are the expectations? Talk about it from the O-line aspect when you lose a guy like that, the changes that occur. Can it change X's and O's wise? Do you have to give the next, if it's Lane Johnson over there, more help? How do that adjustments go?
Well, it's the blind side of your quarterback, and as you know, whoever they put up there is going to have to block a marquee pass rusher in critical situations for the rest of the season. And I don't know if they're going to make a two-position switch or not. Will they move Lane Johnson over there? Perhaps. I think he was selected number 4 overall in the draft to be the long-term answer at left tackle. But now you're talking about a two-position switch, and sometimes that's unhealthy at mid-season. But they're going to need to chip. They're going to need to do a lot of things to try to obviously help that left tackle, changing the launching spot, throwing the quick game. But that's what Doug Peterson does extremely well, and they're going to have to rally around whoever that is. But there are a couple options with Lane Johnson potentially moving over or just staying with Itai.
Mike Jon Gruden is with us, so that was last week's game. We'll get to this week's game. Another of the big topics that we're talking about today is the situation with Martavis Bryant in Pittsburgh, and it's multi-layered. But my basic question to you is this, John, because before you were a head coach, you were an offensive coach, and so you've dealt with all of this before. You've got a guy, and we can take the particulars out of it, who isn't nearly as big a part of the offense as he wants to be. He's a very talented player, but you've got superstars on that offense. You've got Antonio Brown out there, and you've got Le'Veon Bell behind you. So he's not as much a part of the offense as he wants to be, and he's complaining about it noticeably. He's doing it publicly, which may be a terrible idea, but that's neither here nor there. But when a guy just comes to you and says, hey, coach, I need the ball more. I need to be more a part of what's going on here. I'm capable of giving so much more. I want to be more a part of what we're doing. How is that handled inside the building?
Well, it's handled differently depending on who it is and where you are. I have had a lot of receivers yell at me and come to me and ask me to get them more and more involved. And you just have to keep selling the team aspect, the length of the season. You know, Bryant has had a lot of issues. And in his young career, let's be honest, he's had a lot of problems off the field. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration. And Schuster has played extremely well. And he's not the go-to guy, and he won't be as long as Antonio Brown is still in Pittsburgh. But they need him. He, I think, single-handedly helped them beat the Minnesota Vikings earlier this season. You just got to learn to be patient. Sometimes these young receivers want it all right away. And I know Mike Tomlin extremely well. He's very good behind the scenes with players. He's managed through a lot of tough situations in his career, and just try not to make a bigger deal about this than it is. This isn't the first or the last player that wants the ball at the wide receiver position.
Boy, that's for sure. Yeah, no doubt about
exactly
that.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think he'll be enough of a piece to that puzzle that they're not going to want to get rid of him, even though he's not happy, that he can have a few catches here and there that are going to be big for that team that's looking pretty good in the AFC. Let's go to a team in the NFC that's not looking as good. And some people always call it, is it the Super Bowl hangover? What is it? They have a lot of the same personnel. But the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, just don't look like they did certainly last year. Can you put your finger on anything with that team on why it seems so different? A lot of people point at Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, but he doesn't execute the plays on the field. How is that marriage?
Well, it's obviously a stressful situation right now. And, when you make a change on the coaching staff, sometimes it impacts the product on the field, and sometimes there's an adjustment period. They've had some injuries at wide receiver. Let's not forget that. Julio Jones has missed some time. Don't know if he's 100%. Mohamed Sanu, a big piece of this puzzle, has been injured. I don't think their offensive line has come off the ball and blocked and created holes in the running game consistently like they did in years past. And they just have not been able to put teams away, Mike. They have jumped on some teams. They've gotten some leads early, and then they've fallen apart in the second half. For whatever reason, they've turned the ball over. Matt Ryan has thrown some uncharacteristic interceptions, and they haven't made the third down critical plays. But I still think they're extremely dangerous, and they need a little help from their defense as well. But they're a force. They're still in the mix. There's a lot of football yet to be played, and this NFC South is always going to be a division. It comes down to the last couple weeks.
Jon Gruden's with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. This week, you guys have the big one in the AFC West, the Broncos and the Chiefs. Let's start with Denver. I'm rooting like crazy for Trevor Siemian from Northwestern, but even I would have to acknowledge that right now, clearly, he is struggling and their offense is struggling. What is on the tape?
I'm watching this San Diego game, and Joey Bosa single-handedly ruined the game. Joey Bosa dominated the Denver Broncos offensive line. They have real issues at right tackle. Barber struggled against the Chargers. Then Menelik Watson couldn't handle JPP. A lot of problems at right tackle right now. They got a rookie at left tackle. And San Diego quietly, by the way, is a really good defensive team, but they're having a hard time blocking running plays, pass protection. Siemian is under fire. They're missing Sanders, an outstanding receivers. I just don't feel the firepower that I once felt in Denver. They're really having a hard time getting this running game going. It's hard to watch offensive film right now, and unfortunately for them, their defense has been playing extremely well. They have wasted some great performances.
Do you think Siemian is on a short leash at all for this with this offense?
I don't know where they go, Mike. I saw Brock Osweiler come in against, the New York Giants when Siemian was injured. That's not going to help this matter. Paxton Lynch has missed 6 or 7 weeks. He's been injured. He played poorly in the preseason. They have to stay with Siemian, in my opinion, and find a way to get on track offensively. They just don't have any rhythm. They're not converting on third down. I think it's around 25%. And other than Demaryius Thomas, there's just not a lot of weapons that have consistently showed up.
And then on the other side, your former colleague there, Andy Reid, doing his game as he coaches the Kansas City Chiefs, who have lost a couple in a row. They were the last undefeated team, drop a couple in a row. How does Andy, knowing him as well as you do, how does he regroup over there?
I think they believe they should be 7-0, Mike. They lost the Pittsburgh game. You saw the catch at Antonio Brown. It bounced off one of the Chiefs' defenders' helmets. It was a magnificent catch, but they had a chance to win the Pittsburgh game, and certainly the Raider game came down to the last few plays and one of the most bizarre finishes I've ever seen. But they're playing good football. They need to get Marcus Peters going at the cornerback position. They gave up way too many yards in the passing game. And they need to get some healthy pass rushers back. Dee Ford, is Tom Bahali going to play? They need to get Justin Houston some help. But I still think the Chiefs are a very good team. This is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere and a must-win situation for Kansas City and Denver, two teams that really don't have much like for each other.
Yeah, big game in what we figure to be a very tight division. It's this coming Monday night. The Broncos and the Chiefs, and Jon Gruden and company will be there. Thank you, John. Enjoy. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, John.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Jon Gruden with us every Wednesday here. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Customers who switch to Progressive save an average of $500. Call or click today and find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. And I'll admit it again, I'm hopelessly biased on the subject of Trevor Siemian. I will not try and hide it. He's the first starting quarterback we've had since Otto Graham coming out of Northwestern. I want to see it go well. And I'm not making excuses, but, I mean, they have a lot of problems there. It's not just the quarterback.
They do, but you know how it works. You know, the quarterback is the one that gets changed, especially if the quarterback's not lighting it up. But to John's point, and he's right, where are you going? There's not a whole lot to go to that you feel pretty secure about, but they do have struggles. Just what he said, that offensive line with injuries and bad play is not done well. They're not protecting him that well at all. So that's what I thought. Sometimes you look for that spark, but I don't think you're going to Brock Osweiler for the spark.
And then going back to the Martavis Bryant thing,
yep.
I get it. For the purposes of trying to make his case, I wish he didn't have the issues in the past that he has with suspension, because they ruin almost everything I want to say.
Well, they do, and they're there. So,
I know that, but they don't have to play into this. I would rather have this be receiver X, okay? You're a young, talented receiver, and you're on a team that has, let's say, the most productive receiver maybe ever. I mean, Antonio Brown has had, you could probably put together a stat for me, Hembo, that would suggest that Antonio Brown has had the 3 most productive seasons consecutively in the whole history of the sport, right up there near the top. And then you've got Le'Veon Bell, who is the prototype running back of today, where he doesn't just run the ball, which he did last week, 30-something time. What do you have, 35 carries last week or something like that? But they also throw him the ball a lot. So this is a guy who's like, listen, I'm a really good player, and no one's ever going to know it, and I'm going to get to the end of my first deal, and I'm not going to have had the opportunity to show the whole world what I'm capable of.
Okay, join the club of a lot of players. So what now?
But now you have, I think players have the mentality that it used to be, well, there's nothing I can do about that. Right. And now I think the players have the mentality of, I got to get me to a place that I can do that. So I'm just reading this tweet here. Eric Deverick tweets, the Steelers should teach Martavis about karma and trade him to the Browns. I think he'd love to be traded to the Browns.
He would absolutely love to. How about this? You know what? Go and make your case. And you know what Mike Tomlin's going to say? Martavis, listen, you're a piece of this puzzle. We're a good team. We have big goals right now. You're not going to catch as many balls as Antonio Brown. You're not. Right now, as I said, he's the 3rd most targeted guy, but that's slipping. I get it. Behind Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Schuster is starting to come into this offense a little bit more. I'm not trading him. I mean, when you're looking to where you want to go, and this guy has the big play capability, and he can give you maybe a couple of those a game, if maybe, sometimes not, sometimes more. Early in the season, he was giving you more. Why am I trading that?
Oh, I understand that.
So he can have all the attitude he wants. As I said, join the club. There are hundreds of players who are not seeing the playing time that they think they deserve, and who are coming to the end of their contract, who think I could be better off somewhere else. Hundreds.
Right.
Every single year.
But so would you blame them for wanting to go to a different situation?
I'm sure in a private moment, maybe talking with their girlfriend or their wife or their family, maybe that's exactly what they're saying. But then, okay, now what? What do? You go on social media and say you want to leave? You start doing that? Is that what you do? I mean, I don't know. Is that the thing of today? You can go have a discussion, about me being more part of an offense or a defense, depending on the player. But at the end of the day, you can walk out and say, you know what, I don't want to play here anymore and leave. Okay, and you don't get a paycheck. You can make yourself a pain in the butt to where they can make you inactive, where you still get paid, but you're not playing. Now you're not doing anything. Or if it gets bad enough, you get suspended. If you're being too much of a distraction, then you're not getting paid. I don't know where you want to. I get your point, and I'm telling you, there are hundreds of players a year that think that. And they all don't go on social media and say, I want to get out. So what's right, what's wrong? I don't know. I don't think this is the right way. But in this day and age, who knows? I don't know. But I don't think it's going to get him traded, because he still is a viable option, even if it's less times for a team. Trade him away, then Schuster gets hurt.
No, they're not going to trade him.
He's not getting traded.
I understand that.
So he's not alone. He's not singled out of the 1,700 NFL players as, my God, he's the one guy that's being persecuted right now. Let him go somewhere.
He's also not going to get the $30, $40 million guaranteed. And that goes back to the thing that I started by saying that Lewis said it yesterday, can we depend on you? He has not shown himself to be a person that you can depend upon. You can parse the marijuana suspension however you want. You can say you don't believe it should be illegal. You can say you don't believe that the league should test for it. But whatever it is,
they do.
The only thing that matters if you're a team and you're thinking of giving a guy that contract is, can we depend upon you being there every single game?
He's out for a year again.
Because Antonio Brown, whatever headaches he creates, and whether it's Facebook Lives in the locker room or whether it's turning over Gatorade things, he and Marvin Harrison are the only players in history with 100 catches in 4 straight years, and he's on pace for 118 this year. So he's dependable.
Yes, he is.
He can be a pain in the neck, but he is as dependable as it gets.
You can say, man is a pain in the neck, but let's throw him the ball.
Yeah.
And that's how it's worked forever in sports. The better you are, the more leash you get. I've said it for years, and I'll continue to say it because it's true.
I guess what I'd ask is, how good is Martavis Bryant?
I think he's a pretty good receiver, good enough to where the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't going to trade him.
I guess my answer to it would be, I don't really know. No one really knows because he's always been the other guy in the field.
But we've seen him play. I think he's pretty good.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But how much of that is because the defense is rolling that way? And could Martavis Bryant be the number one receiver on an NFL team? Because if you are the number one receiver on an NFL team, that is worth tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
And right now, the way it's trending, he's never going to get that chance. He will never be that. He will never get that money.
Well, his contract could be up soon. He was drafted in 2014. Right. He doesn't have to wait much longer.
But who's going to give him that money if he's a guy who's coming off a season where he had 31 catches? Do you know what I mean? Like, he wants to go to a place where he had 91 catches, and then all of a sudden he's worth a lot of money.
Stand in line.
I get that.
Line.
You're not wrong. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what answer you're looking for from me.
I'm not looking for an answer.
I mean, I don't know what.
I'm trying to say, all these people, I'm looking at a ton of Twitter. This guy needs to shut up and do it for the team. Well, the team not going to do it for him. These teams aren't going to sit around saying, when he gets to the end of his deal, you know what, Martavis, you really are a better player than we needed. So we're going to give you a little more money than your numbers would suggest because we had Antonio. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to say, these are your numbers, so we're giving you this amount of money. So I understand a guy in his situation feeling a little bit of desperation. That's all I'm saying. Is he handling it wrong? Probably. But I understand.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
And all
is he the only guy in that situation? Obviously
as I said,
not.
Multiply it by a couple hundred. So it happens all the time. Hey, everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, I've been dreading this all week long since you have decided to make it your personal quest to make Kirk Herbstreit feel unwelcome here.
It's his fault.
So go ahead, set it up as we welcome Kirk Herbstreit in for his regular Wednesday visit. What is your beef with Herbie?
Well, last week, College Game Day went to Penn State. Penn State and Michigan was playing, but it was also Notre Dame USC as ranked against ranked, and I kind of understood. They were higher-ranked teams with Penn State and Michigan, so I somewhat understood that, even though going to Notre Dame for Notre Dame SC is tough to beat. So be it. So Notre Dame rolls USC, Penn State rolls Michigan. Now Penn State's going to Ohio State. College Game Day's already been there, and they just did Penn State. Notre Dame's playing a ranked North Carolina State team who they play Notre Dame and then Clemson can get right into this thing. What a great time for College Game Day to go to Notre Dame for that one. But Herbie has to step in and say he demanded. I found out behind the scenes he demanded College Game Day go to Ohio State and do the Ohio State-Penn State game, which left Notre Dame out in the cold, which again leaves me out as celebrity picker if they would have chosen me because Herbie wanted the game day at Ohio State.
Herbie, your response.
Wow, you are a beauty. Now, I will admit it would have been a lot of fun last week, anytime Notre Dame and SC get together. What a terrific atmosphere. Congratulations on a huge win. Game day went to Penn State with the whiteout and lived up to it. This week, you have me confused with Lee Fitting, I think, because I have absolutely zero pull on where College Game Day goes. I don't know who your source is. But I go where I'm told, like most of us. But I would love to go to South Bend. In fact, if we went to South Bend, let's just envision this, because if we went to South Bend this week, I would love to be able to have our set there. It's been so long, and I would love to be able to have Mike Golick on our set. He's our celebrity picker, and I would ask him, Mike Golick, who do you like in the Notre Dame North Carolina State game. That's all I'd want to know.
It would be so much fun to do.
Well, let's do that. Why don't we do that? Let's have Mike Golick pick the Notre Dame NC State game. Let's do that right now. Let's have the Mike Golick everyone really wants to hear from answer that question. Mike Golick, what do you think?
Notre Dame by 20. Okay, let's move
Stand
on.
by. You're not the Mike Golick we're talking about. Go ahead.
What's up?
Oh, what is that?
No, they wanted the Mike Golick that they want on the game day set, the one that was actually there playing the last time game day was on South Bend's campus, the one that was actually around during the years that people like to bring back up and talk about when they reminisce fondly about things that went on in South Bend. The younger, the bright shining star bursting his way onto the network right here. So, Herbie, happy to come out here and give you a pick, man. Really appreciate you bringing me on to do this. It means a lot.
Well, this is the Mike Golick we would have on the set if College Game Day showed up in South Bend. If we eventually get there, hopefully we'll get there soon, and we would love to have you on the show and give us your thoughts on not just Notre Dame's game, but all the other games that particular Saturday as well.
How do you feel, big fella?
I can't even begin to tell you the amount of people I hate right now. I hate Herbie, and I brought this kid into the world, and I'm about to take him out. There's one standing next to me right here. This is ridiculous what's going on. And by the way, Lee Fitting gave you up because I had him up against the wall ready to punch him in the throat, and he said it was your idea. So, I not like I threatened him or anything. I can't believe my own son, you would come in and sell me out like this.
You know what? Listen, to quote the great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. I bring this one in to make the pick right here.
Oh,
so
nice.
Make it very easy. So I would simply, let me show you how to do this, just in case, one day down the road, once I get past it, you take the helmet, you take whichever team you're going to choose would be at Notre Dame, and you'd put that one on. And for us, we get a little bit of this action in here. Last weekend, could I toss one of these down? But, I'll experience it for you. I'll tell you how it is. I'll write it down in your journal. I'll send that home with you. It'd be nice.
Oh, shut up.
All right, let's do Herbie here. And we have a few minutes with him. And then, Mikey, if you can stay, we'll talk to you a little bit as well. But, Herbie, while we do have you, obviously, all kidding aside, and it was nice of you to be in our little gag here, you guys are going to Penn State, Ohio State for College Game Day, which is a huge game in the Big Ten. The winner, what did we say? They have a 97% chance, according to FPI, of taking it to the Big Ten title game where we would expect Wisconsin to be sitting on the other side. So break this matchup down a little bit for us, Herbie, because it's a fascinating one. Saquon on one side, I heard Urban Meyer waxing rhapsodic about him. How do you see this game?
Man, just leaving State College last week, and I just watching Penn State a couple times in person. I had the Iowa game on the road where they got challenged, and then last week. This is a really, really good football team that's incredibly mature and focused. I think that the one thing to remember about this game is not just Saquon Barkley and the Penn State offense. I think Trace McSorley, their quarterback, reminded us last week how important he is to this offense because of his ability to throw the ball downfield. They create so many one-on-one matchups. And then, of course, his ability to complement Saquon Barkley running the football. If you get so caught up, as Michigan learned last week, and taking him away, McSorley will make you pay for it with his feet. So Ohio State, I think the one way Ohio State will try to neutralize all that big playability is got to be their defensive line. Their defensive line's ability to penetrate and get into the backfield could be kind of an equalizer. And like I said, with the home crowd, if Ohio State wins the game, and we talk next week, we're going to be talking a lot about Nick Bosa and the Ohio State defensive line doing that very thing. And on the other side, we just don't know how much Ohio State's improved, guys. They've had better looks in practice than who they played in the last 5 weeks. So they've done what they needed to do against Army and UNLV and Rutgers and whoever else. So let's be honest, the last time we saw them against a good athletic defense was Oklahoma. And some of the same issues they had a year ago with J.T. Barrett holding the ball, receivers not making plays, getting separation, offensive line having problems protecting the quarterback, were on display in that game. So here they go 5 weeks later after going against inferior opponents and looking great. How much have they really improved? It's guessing and speculating. We have no idea until we see them play in this game against a very athletic defense. It's one of the top defenses in the country.
Mike and Herbie brought to you by Allstate. Make sure you check out the Herbstreit and Fitzsimmons podcast this week. They have J.T. Barrett and Bryce Love.
So certainly after all the fun we're having about the Notre Dame, I'll certainly talk about them throughout the rest of the week. But they're playing a North Carolina State team, Herbie, who their quarterback Finley, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. They split up that run and pass pretty well. They beat Notre Dame in the monsoon going on last year. But what an opportunity for them. Let's talk about it from their side of it. They play Notre Dame and then they play Clemson. So within a 2-week span, if they can survive that, do you feel they put themselves right in the mix?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a huge opportunity. What a great story that Dave Doran, their head coach, was a former defensive coordinator years ago with Brett Bielema, head coach of Northern Illinois. Brings that kind of Midwest toughness to this NC State program. He's been building it over the last few years, and now they're kind of reaping the rewards of that kind of foundation that he's been able to lay, and they've had some nice wins. Let's be honest, this is going to be a much different test. I think Notre Dame is a team with their win and the way they beat USC, with the committee coming out with their first rankings on Tuesday of next week. The winner of this game is all of a sudden, especially if Notre Dame wins this game, I cannot wait to see where the committee would have Notre Dame ranked after their win against USC. Think about their only loss to Georgia by a point. They went to East Lansing and won convincingly. They still have big games ahead of them, a trip to Miami, a trip to Stanford. They don't have a conference championship game. Notre Dame becomes a legitimate team in this playoff picture if they get through this game against NC State. NC State's defensive line is as good as there is, very strong, very athletic, very tough. So, to me, the matchup is, you brought up some great points about Finley and his offense, and that'll be a challenge. But really what I can't wait to see is the way Notre Dame is running the football with Adams and Wimbush. Can they establish the run against this defense from NC State, or will Wimbush be put in some obvious passing situations where we really haven't seen him excel in that particular area yet? But I think Notre Dame's for real, man. We're having some fun, you and I, but if they get by this Saturday, look out. They got a real shot.
And again, next week is the week that we get the first CFP rankings. Right. This past week, Herbie's top 4 are Alabama, Penn State, Georgia, and TCU. We'll see if all of those survive this weekend. Herbie, thanks for taking part in this. It was fun. I'm sorry that Golick was all over you all week long.
Whatever.
And we will see you this weekend for game day. Thanks,
all right,
Herbie.
Fellas. Have a great week.
See ya.
We do it with Mike Golick Jr. in our studio. We'll do it with Buster Olney live in 15 minutes, bright and early from L.A. Some people tweeting about the game last night. Clayton Kershaw, Jared writes, makes batters look like they couldn't hit a piñata. Rick tweets, not hard to pitch great when the ump gives you ankle high and 3 inches off each corner. I hope Verlander gets that. He'll be unhittable. I have seen a lot about the umpire last night.
Are you saying Keuchel didn't get that if he was throwing in the same spot? I guess that's what I mean, because Keuchel pitched pretty well except for 2 mistakes, 6 hits, 2 home runs. I mean, was he not getting those calls? I mean, that's what you do as a pitcher, right? You figure out where you can throw it. Just like in any sport, you figure out what's happening with those officials. Same in football. How much holding can an offensive lineman get away with before they're going to call it? How much, can you hit a wide receiver past 5 yards before they're going to call it? You figure out what the refs are calling.
Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage at America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network. So again, we'll talk about that with Buster. Quickly, while we have Mike Golick Jr. here, again on the Martavis Bryant situation, I'd said yesterday, and I just saw it from a tweeter, the Chicago Bears are desperate for help at receiver. They have a young quarterback they're trying to develop. They're one of many teams I could see calling up the Steelers and offering something. I don't know exactly what. Could you see something like that happening?
The Buffalo Bills, you look out at them, who not only have been devoid of really a true receiving option there, drafted Zay Jones pretty high, but still have been making their living with Charles Clay as a deep threat in an offense that likes to push it deep. And now without him, that could be a place where it's a very easy landing spot with Tyrod Taylor there. There would absolutely be suitors for this, I think. And if you're Pittsburgh and you've got someone who's disgruntled, who may not be working into the plans the way you thought, there could be that idea. But I can see the Pittsburgh side of this. Listen, you've stuck with this guy through 2 suspensions. Yep. You want to believe that you can still get something out of this talent, provided there's some give and take there. Mike Tomlin also says he's liked the process Martavis Bryant has had this year, the way that he's worked. But more and more as I sit here, I understand the system doesn't doesn't allow him to do something like this. But for Martavis Bryant to try and say, I want to control my own destiny more so than is allowed, I don't think the sentiment is all that disagreeable as much as it is the optics of it aren't necessarily what we're used to and what you and I would be comfortable with doing by any stretch of the imagination.
I would agree with that maybe it's different today, but the bottom line, what Lewis said yesterday, what are other teams seeing? What if Mike Tomlin says, listen, you're going to be here, you're going to be part of this, and then Bryant wants to take it further and be really disgruntled. How is that helping him with the next team? What other team is going to say, oh yeah, I want to trade for that? That problem out there.
No, he's hurting himself.
Yeah.
He's not helping himself. He's hurting himself. Louis Riddick was rolling his eyes in here as we were reading the quotes from Josina Anderson yesterday. Okay, well, I have Mikey because you came in here as a celebrity picker. Let me ask you a couple of quick college football questions. Herbie referred to Ohio State sort of stepping up in class this week. They've won a lot of games against lesser competition since we saw them get drubbed by Oklahoma. Are they ready for Penn State this weekend?
I don't think so. And really, it's because we have no way of knowing. Like Herbie said, and it's wild, I was watching our ranking show last night discussing not the college football playoff rankings, but just the coaches poll and the AP poll. Ohio State's number 6 again out of nowhere, and I feel like we haven't looked at them since that last loss there. But ultimately, I still feel like this is an offense that's not really capable of putting up points with a lot of people on a big stage like this on a team that's a little more well-rounded.
Some of that is because we have a tendency to go back to what we thought before everything began in the first place, which is why a lot of people still question TCU, because they're not the team we expected to be here at this time. Are they one of the legit college football big boys this year?
Yes, because again, going back to what they did on the big stage, looking at Oklahoma State, shutting down that offense the way they did, I think that taught us a lot about TCU. You're right, in a place we weren't ready for.
Didn't Oklahoma State just score very few points against Texas also?
Yes,
did that change anyone's mind about the performance TCU had against them?
I don't think so, just because we always assumed, again, like talking about what we expected from Texas, ton of talent in the cupboard there for Tom Herman taking it over, just a matter of rattling the cage enough to get it all to go out there and perform the way they wanted. We've seen enough instances of that group.
And TCU plays a ranked Iowa State this week. So.
Right, and Iowa State had just beaten, they beat Oklahoma.
Right.
And then quickly on Notre Dame, it was, as best you can, removing your allegiance from it, when last they were a true national power, you were on the team. Are they on that level right now? Is this football team as good as all the top teams in the country?
I think so. Listen, defensively, personnel-wise, they're not as good to a man, but they've kind of grouped. The most encouraging for me was seeing them generate pass rush in a 4-down setting against USC, and I get that O-line's not full of world beaters. North Carolina State probably a better group, but to see them generate a pass rush, continue to force turnovers. We knew Sam Darnold was going to give them one. They found their way into a couple of others. One was on special teams, but in general, if that group can keep giving this offense extra possession, they dominate the clock.
My biggest worry is if Notre Dame has to pass their way into a game, because the pass works well now off 350 yards rushing a game, but when they have to pass themselves and throw into a game, that's when I think it's truly a test for them.
All right, we shall see. A very good job done today by Mike Golick Jr., the celebrity picker. If we had the opportunity.
One day, Dad, one day.
Weekend.
You're grounded.
I'll go back to my house.
Buster Olney, bright and early, live in L.A. off Game 1 of the World Series, joins us live next. Stay there, Mike and Mike.
Go to your room in your house.